So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to give you an overview of what we've been able to establish in Würzburg, located centrally in Germany in terms of CAR T-cell, and an effort of building a translational research program around this topic. We're very pleased that Würzburg has a decade-long track record in using also cellular immunotherapy, with Hermann Einzeler, our department chair, being the first in Europe to having treated patients with CMV-specific T-cells many years ago, and that of course provided an excellent basis for now also using the CAR T-cell products. So we've been involved very early on in the industry-sponsored clinical trials. In the Gilead trial, Stefan Mielke actually treated 6 patients on this trial, and that was the first experience of using CD19 CAR T in Würzburg, and now Max Topp and Johannes Düll have done an excellent job in integrating CAR T cells into our leukemia and lymphoma program, and have several trials within the ZUMA program that are currently ongoing and have probably treated the largest number of patients in Germany with CD19 CAR T cells. Also, we have a strong interest in multiple myeloma, and we have treated patients with BCMA-specific CAR T cells and have a very good experience here, and are currently in ongoing discussions in getting more of these BCMA and multiple myeloma CAR T cell products to Würzburg. On the other side, I shared some data from our preclinical research program around CAR T cells. We were very active in this area, and this also formed the basis for proposing academic clinical trials with novel CAR T cell products, and I want to show you a few examples, but also highlight that, of course, the basis for doing all this is that you have a clinical trial unit, and we've been able to establish a clinical service where patients are inpatient, because the EMA and regulators mandate that patients are on the clinical service for at least 14 days after the CAR T-cell infusion in Europe, and are able to come for additional 14 days for daily study visits. So these patients have to be very, very close, or even as inpatients, and we've established an intermediate care level clinical service that's really just dedicated to treating these CAR T patients. And this is only possible because we also have a team of very enthusiastic physicians, study nurses, data managers that make all this possible. And this is, of course, an interdisciplinary approach with intensive care unit being involved, imaging, neuroradiology, and pharmacy. But going back to these academic clinical trials, I want to show you 2 examples. Our favorite example is, of course, the Caramba clinical trial based on our work with SLAMF7 CAR T cells for treating multiple myeloma. We've reported our preclinical data in this manuscript in Blood a couple of years ago, and this shows that this is a highly effective CAR T cell product for treating multiple myeloma. So we've been able to get funding from the European Union within the Horizon 2020 program. The project is called Caramba. I have the pleasure to coordinate this consortium, and the 4 clinical trial sites that we're proposing for this phase 1/2A clinical study are located in Würzburg, in Milano, in Lille, in Pamplona. Harvard Bönig in Frankfurt is making the cell product in his GMP facility, and we're very pleased that Myeloma Patients Europe, the largest patient stakeholder organization in Europe, is also part of this consortium and is advising us and guiding us through what the patients really want from us as CAR T-cell engineers. Just one word on this SLAMF7 CAR T-cell product. We've tried to integrate some of the innovations that we've made in the lab. It has a humanized targeting domain, a tailored spacer designed to enable optimal immune synapse formation between myeloma cells and CAR T cells. It is this defined composition of CD8 and CD4 that was introduced earlier. It has a safety marker, EGFRT, and we're using virus-free CAR gene transfer using the Sleeping Beauty transposon system to make this cell product. This product is very effective. This is a head-to-head comparison with BCMA CAR T, actually in the same mouse model, immunodeficient NSG mice inoculated with MM1S myeloma cells. Both products are very effective. You see this within this waterfall plot. But with some data indicating that we really have an edge here and maybe more potent than the BCMA CAR Ts. Because when you look at the bone marrow of these mice that you treat, that we've treated and kind of do MRD analysis, we see that with SLAMF7 CAR T, we're also able to clean the bone marrow and get these mice into MRD negativity, whereas with the cell line, which is a kind of a medium level BCMA expressor, there's often residual cells in the bone marrow, indicating that the SLAMF7 CAR T product may even be more potent than compared to the BCMA CAR T. We're using Sleeping Beauty transposition to do this. We have the vision that eventually we can do the CAR T-cell engineering without virus. We've heard a lot about advanced engineering technologies, including also the CRISPR-Cas9 editing, but also here you need adenovirus to get your gene transfer agents in. So what we're proposing really is to do this completely without virus. So we're doing this with transposase mRNA and minicircle encoded transposon where the CAR then is located on. And the reason why we think this is important because this is really the key enabling technology to get CAR T products to a lot of patients because it will allow us to cut down on the manufacturing time. We just heard the turnaround time for Yescarta is about 4 weeks. If you include the time you often have to wait in order to get a manufacturing slot, this can easily accumulate to 2 or 3 months. We have the vision of if you do this virus-free CAR T engineering on-site in the hospital, you can trim the manufacturing time to just a few days. And the production cost, if you just calculate what it costs you to make a batch of virus compared to a batch of DNA, we have here the potential to really trim down the manufacturing cost for the DNA and of course then the cell culture agent media and so on. If you have a short manufacturing time substantially such that also the margin for a commercial product will be much more attractive. We're currently using autologous CAR T cells, but of course we also have the vision of eventually doing off-the-shelf universal CAR T products, but the barriers at the moment related to batch-to-batch variation and the immunogenicity are still too high. So this cell product in Caramba will be autologous. We're pursuing techniques in the lab to also make this allogeneic off-the-shelf CAR T cell product a reality. The other EU project I want to introduce is the EURICART project. This is based on work from Attilio Bondanza, Monica Casucci in Milano that introduced a couple of years ago CD44V6 as a splice variant of CD44 that is expressed very frequently in acute myeloid leukemia and also in multiple myeloma. And these are also the indications this project is going after. It also has a quite favorable expression profile in normal human tissues. There's expression in keratinocytes and other epithelial tissues, but Attilio has shown some beautiful data showing that the high level of PD-L1 expression on these tissues actually prevents an attack of CAR T cells to these tissues. So we do not anticipate toxicity here. They've demonstrated clearly that the cell product is effective in preclinical models and reported on this work. And this is just shown here in this xenograft model. The CAR T cells are able to prevent outgrowth of this AML case. And this is the basis then for this clinical trial. It's led by Malmed, located in Milano. And the aim of this project is to conduct a first-in-man phase 1/2A clinical trial with the cell product in patients with AML and multiple myeloma. The cell product is also equipped with the suicide gene HSV-TK, such that in the case of unexpected toxicity, these CAR T cells could get deleted. Another important piece of innovation that's included here. And I'm showing you the consortium partners. As I said, it's coordinated by Malmed in Milano. Ospedale San Raffaele is one of the clinical sites with us. Our colleagues in Rome, in Barcelona, and also in Ostrava, our additional clinical trial sites. And we've just submitted our IND application to the German regulatory agency, the Paul-Ehrlich Institute. So hopefully by the end of this year, we will be able to include and treat the first patient with the cell product in Würzburg. Another important component, of course, in a truly translational CAR T program is to train and educate the next generation of CAR T engineers. And the one project I want to highlight here is a so-called Innovative Training Network. It's a very interesting funding instrument from the European Union in the so-called Marie Curie Actions. And the concept here is that you have several labs spread out over Europe. There's PhD students in each lab, and they have a host mentor, but then these PhD students also go to other labs to really get a multidisciplinary training. And of course this enacting network, and we did a very good job at finding an acronym here. That's the most difficult task, is to find an acronym for your EU project, enacting. And here are the students. Vasco Gonçalves is the student that is working in our lab, and we're very closely working with Johannes Hupper as one of the ITN members to do more of these exciting super resolution images that I showed also in our earlier talk this morning. So with this, I'm coming back to this overview. What does it take to build a translational CAR-T research program? As I said, we have a long track record in immunotherapy. That was the basis to build the clinical infrastructure with an inpatient clinical service with a physician and nurses team. That was also then the basis to get third-party funding, most importantly from the European Union. That's essentially the only funding instruments that are of sufficient size to fund a clinical trial. We have 2 of these projects ongoing. And there's a very important kind of feedback loop from the preclinical research laboratory that we have to these IITs that also then provide the basis to generate intellectual property and to be active in the kind of biotech spin-out area. And we have indeed founded a biotech company that is picking up on some of the novel technologies and cell products that we're developing here. So that was a quick run through what we've been doing in Würzburg. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much also for talking so fast to make some time.
Was it too fast? I'm sorry.
No, it was fine. It was fine. Yeah.
I still want to go to the Eiffel Tower this afternoon, so it's kind of in a rush. Come on.
Time for 1 or 2 questions. I think, by the way, your effort to invest in the next generation of engineers is to be commended.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of fun, actually, but these PhD students are busy. I mean, they hardly have time to do experiments because they're constantly traveling to other sites. So, yeah.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.